What's up, guys? In this video, we're going to analyze what makes Courtney Ryan so attractive to so many guys and why I think she's actually a great role model for girls. And we're going to do this by comparing her to our favorite dating coach ever, Ask Nelly. Alright, so as a lot of you guys know, I recently had Ask Nelly and Courtney Ryan on the podcast, and those two could not have been more different, as a lot of you guys told me in the comments. So I thought it would be interesting to make a video where we analyze what makes Courtney Ryan so attractive to men, specifically looking at her behavior. And we're going to do that by comparing and contrasting the way that she answers the same questions as Ask Nelly. So we're going to start off with the introduction. Whenever I have a new guest on, I say, hey, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. So let's see what Ask Nelly said. Nelly, for anyone who's not familiar with you, do you want to just give a little background about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I am a dating and confidence coach.
And count how many times she says the word I.
And that's how most people know me. And I've been doing that for about a year. I also coach a lot of clients on the side, and I'm gearing up to launch a course for anyone who is having issues navigating this modern dating world and wants to figure out how to meet their Mr. Right or their Mrs. Right. So I do a lot of tips and tricks, and I feature that on my Instagram. I post reels almost every day. And then obviously I'm on TikTok, like I said. So that's me.
It's all I. And of course you expect some of that because after all, the question is, tell us about yourself, right? But let's compare that to the way that Courtney Ryan answers the same question. So can you just give a brief introduction?
Yeah, so I'm Courtney Ryan. I have a channel all about men's lifestyle, fashion, dating, pretty much a one-stop shop for everything. I started out with fashion, and then just as the more I posted, people were curious about other things. So it kind of just stemmed into all the good topics. So
she's so much more humble and nonchalant. She's almost downplaying her accomplishments. I'm not saying you necessarily have to do that, but men don't really want a girl who's going to just be bragging, right? Same way women don't really want that either. A little cockiness is good, too much is a bad thing, right? And the other thing I want to point out, it's not all about her. She starts off by saying, I started the channel, but then it quickly becomes about the channel. Her work is more important in the introduction than her. And I think that says about her, right? That she's not a narcissist, right? I'm not saying Ask Nelly's a narcissist, but I'm just saying that Courtney Ryan, is clearly not all about getting attention for herself. And again, that is going to be a major point in her favor. And again, if this was the only difference between those two, then I wouldn't have even made the video. I think this is a fairly small point, but I wanted to mention it. The differences are going to become more and more apparent as we keep going through these. So moving on to the next one, where the question, something of the video topic was, why should you text a guy first, right? Let's see what Ask Nelly has to say. Hey, if you guys are finding value from this video, then make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. All right, back to the video.
Shouldn't text him first. Number one, it's desperate and you know it. Because let's face it, the only reason you're even thinking of texting him is because he's not texting you. And now you're worried you're not going to hear from him. Which brings me to reason number two. When you act on that desperation, he is subconsciously going to see that you are prioritizing him, which in turn is going to make him think of you as an option. And whenever that happens, men pull away. Which brings me to reason number three. Let's say you do text him. What are you realistically going to say? Hey, how's your week going? Okay, I mean, you could. But ultimately, the point of texting is to meet up. So unless you actually plan on asking this guy out, which you shouldn't have to do, then there's no point. If he texted you before, he's more than capable of texting you again. And anyone who says, it's 2021, you can text him first, is either a beta male, a fuckboy, or in a relationship where they settled. Tap that plus sign to follow for more.
First off, she's wrong about half the stuff she said. For example, if a woman texts a man, that's not going to make him pull away, right? At some point, as a woman, you do have to show your interest. Like, what are you going to be at the altar and still going to be playing it coy? Like, I don't know if I'm interested. Like, this just makes no sense. That's the first thing. But the second thing, look at her attitude and demeanor. She's very condescending. It's almost like she's talking down to the audience. And she's also sort of like labeling and shaming, like, oh, well, if you are a guy who's not going to text me first, then you're a fuckboy. Like, it doesn't even really make any sense. Now, compare that to the way that Courtney Ryan answers a very similar question.
I'm here to remind you that your partner is not a mind reader. You have to be able to effectively communicate what you want and what you need from someone. And if they give those things to you, it doesn't diminish it or make it any less special because you had to ask for it or tell them. It actually makes it more special because they listened.
First of all, this is way healthier of advice. Like, yeah, men are not mind readers. Like sometimes we don't have the best social awareness and we can't pick up that there's something on your mind. We don't know that maybe you have a crush on us. We don't know that you want to talk about something. So of course it's much better as a woman to just be straight up and say what's on your mind. Also, I think this is way healthier for women. But aside from that, she's not condescending. She's not talking down to the audience. She's on the same level. And this is so much more chill. She's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And men like that. We don't want a woman who's going to be condescending to us. We want a woman who's going to be, quote unquote, on the same level as us. And we don't mean in terms of accomplishments. We just mean like who's not going to, pretend like she's above us. So another point in Courtney Ryan's favor.
Texting you again. And anyone who says it's 2021,
and this is Courtney
you can
Ryan
text him
reacting
first,
to that
is
same
either
clip.
a beta male, a fuck boy, or in a relationship where they settled. Tap that plus sign to follow for more, and good luck.
Oh.
This is awesome. I love her reaction. She's like, no, I do not like this. And again, she's a little quirky in this one clip, and that's a good thing. Men don't want a woman who's just going to be perfectly polished. Like, we like some quirks, and that's okay. You could tell this is the first take she did of this. This is not the third or fourth take, because that is a genuine reaction. Authenticity and someone who's genuine, that's a good thing. That's a turn on.
Oh, I did not like that. Oh. Okay. It's a lot for me to wrap my mind around right now. Guys, if you like someone, text them. If they don't text you back, move on to the next person. Do not get your panties in a bunch because someone is not texting you back. And also, what did she say at the end? If it's 2021, you're a beta male if you... No, girls can text guys just as much as guys can text girls. I don't think I've ever asked anyone on a date necessarily, but also I've been in a relationship for 3 years. Now, if I was back in the dating game, I would have no shame in, if I was interested in someone, asking them if they wanted to meet up. It doesn't make...
How much simpler and healthier is what she's saying? Like, guys, we don't have to play these weird games. If you want to say something, say it. If someone's not texting you back, then move on. You don't have to play all these weird manipulative games. So yeah, another point in her favor.
I'm not into that, splitting a bill on a first date. I think it's kind of embarrassing for a man, and I think it's embarrassing for a woman if a man expects her to do that. It just shows that he doesn't respect the struggles that she goes through as a woman. The fact that women are just more vulnerable in society for many reasons. So if a man doesn't understand that, then it shows he doesn't respect a woman or doesn't care to understand the female struggle.
That's a great rant, but what does paying on the first date have anything to do with the female struggle and, discrimination, right? So this is manipulative because she's taking something that's completely unrelated that men are going to have a soft spot for. And of course, at least most men are not going to be like, yeah, we don't care about the male struggle. No, like she's taking something that's unrelated and relating it to something to prove her point, which is, of course, the men having to pay for the first drink. So her logic doesn't make sense, but also it's very manipulative, right? It's very just emotionally manipulative. Again, that's going to be a turnoff. And it's also very high maintenance. Like, I need a man to pay for this. I need that. I need this. It's like very almost like drama queen right? Compare that to Courtney Ryan.
It's kind of a bad sign.
Let me ask this question actually. Let's say you go on a date with a guy and let's say you're single and you go on a date with a guy and he's great, everything's awesome, but he asked to split the bill. Would you hold it against him or would that not matter to you?
No, I feel like, it's just the first date. Like, you don't know if that's going to be how the rest of your dates are going. Like, actually, I went on a coffee date with a guy one time, and he gave me the wrong address, so he showed up at the date before me, and he had already gotten coffee because he was waiting on me, and then when I got there, I got my own coffee, and we ended up dating for a couple months, and I didn't even think anything of it, that I had to pay for my own coffee.
So much more chill and laid back, not emotionally manipulative. Like, that men want a woman who's just going to be chill, who's laid back, who's not super high maintenance, who's not going to have many demands, right? And again, that's not to say that as a woman you're not entitled to get things that you like. Look, if you really want the man to have to pay for everything, that's fine. You can say that. But don't say that, the man should have to do it because of the female struggle and this and that. Just say it's something that you want, right? Don't be emotionally manipulative. So yeah, another point in Courtney Ryan's favor. Moving on.
Yeah.
Couldn't a man then make the argument that because if you don't sleep with him on the first date, you don't respect his struggle and how hard it is for him to get laid and how, let's face it, it's a lot easier for him.
Now look at just her facial expression, right? I'm talking about something that's an issue for a lot of men. Now, yeah, of course, it's not an issue for me, but, a lot of men do struggle with, having a good time with a woman, right? Because they can't meet a woman, right? Because they're awkward, they've been rejected, and they become incels, they become depressed. Some of them even commit suicide, right? It's a serious issue, and to be this dismissive of it, it's just wrong. Like, if a woman's telling me about her issues, I'm not going to be this dismissive. Like, you know, and again, men have their own struggle, women have their own struggle. I don't like to pretend like our struggle is worse than theirs and vice versa, right? We all have our unique challenges. But, you know, you're not going to get respect from the opposite sex if you dismiss their struggle. Men like a woman who can relate to the male struggle and vice versa. So anyway, let's keep going.
To, you know, find a partner to sleep with. For men, it's harder, right?
I'm sorry. I would have to stop you right there, if that's okay.
I like how she says, I'm going to have to stop you right there if it's okay. And then she doesn't wait for me to say okay. She just keeps talking.
Struggle to get laid. Do you know how many men pay for... There's no struggle to get laid. Struggle to get laid, if you're not paying for it, depends on what you look like, depends on how much you earn. You know, the more successful a guy is, the less the struggle is going to be. The less successful a guy is, or the less good looking he is, the harder it's going to be. But I think there's no struggle. The struggle to get laid, I'm sorry, that's not...
Also notice how she just keeps cutting me off and cutting me off. That's another turn off for men. We don't want a woman who's going to talk over us, just like women don't want a guy who's going to talk over her. Like, we want to be heard, women want to be heard. Let's not talk over each other. It just shows bad manners.
Compelling enough argument for me.
But we can agree at least that it is, let's take all factors being equal, not prostitution. It is much easier for women to get sex than it is for a man, right? I'm not saying
haven't seen a statistic on that. I can't comment on that. I don't believe.
So we did a recent, so I can actually give you a statistic.
And I don't think women, by the way, are active.
So literally, I'm saying, can we at least agree on the fact that it's harder for men to get laid, like, than women? Who can disagree with that? Like, my fucking grandma would agree with that. Of course it's harder for men to get laid. Like, that's just common sense. And she's just saying, oh, well, I don't know if I've seen a statistic on that. She's basically just disagreeing for the sake of disagreeing. Again, another turnoff. Like, as a woman, if you disagree with something, of course, speak your mind. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't be just disagreeable for the sake of disagreeing. That's going to be a turnoff to a lot of guys. Now, we didn't have a similar situation with Courtney Ryan, fact of matters, because she didn't really interrupt me, and because we didn't really have anything we disagree on, because we both, you know, teach healthy mindsets, right? But I wanted to play this clip because I think it's somewhat similar.
I'm 25.
Oh, you are young.
I know. Everyone tells me I look old. I'm like, you guys are so mean.
I didn't realize that.
I'm like, I went to the tanning bed when I was a teenager, but sheesh, I didn't think I looked 40. Some of the comments I get, I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Just look at her vibe. Notice how much more pleasant she is, right? This is something that could be potentially offensive, but she doesn't get offended. She doesn't get triggered. She's just playful. She lets it roll off her shoulders, right? She's confident in who she is, and she doesn't give a shit. And again, that's also very attractive to men. We don't want a woman who's super high maintenance, who's super stuck up, who's super me. We want a woman who's just laid back, chill, and can laugh things off. All right, hopefully you guys found this video valuable. And the point here isn't to just say, oh, look how much better Courtney Ryan is than Ask Nelly. Although, low-key, that's probably true. I think the real thing here is that I want to show, like, behaviors, specific behaviors that make women attracted to men. Again, men like it when a woman is chill, when she's laid back, when she's nonchalant, when she's not super bragging, when she's also lets things roll off her shoulder, when she has a sense of humor, when she doesn't have a stick up her ass, when she's a girl who doesn't talk down to you, and when she can be relatable and empathetic to the male struggle. Just like the same way women want a guy who can be empathetic as well. So these are traits that a woman, you know, should model in order to be more attractive. And I think Courtney Ryan is a really good example of this. Show us some love by smashing the like button, hitting subscribe, and clicking the bell for notification. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time.